Good day, sir. We assigned to report the chapter 28 to 41.
The characters are Crisostomo Ibarra, Maria Clara, Padre Damaso, Pilosopo Tasio, Elias, Donna Victorina, Sisa. Doña Consolacion, Tia Isabel. Tia Isabel helped Capitan Tiago take care of Maria Clara as she grew up. Inday Senang, Victoria, and Ninang, friends of Maria Clara and San Diego. Inday is a beautiful and plays the harp. Senang is cheerful and naughty, and Maria Clara's close friends, Victorina, is Senang's strict elder cousin. Nining is quiet and shy. Andeng. Andeng is a foster sister of Maria Clara who cooks well. She is the caretaker of Capitan Tiago's house in San Diego. Doña Pia Alba is the mother of Maria Clara and wife of Capitan Tiago, died after giving childbirth to Maria Clara. Capitan Tika and Capitan Basilio, mother and father of Sanang Capitan Basilio, is not the same as Basilio. Albina, ex-seminarian who became disillusioned with the Catholic Church, admirer of Victorina. Crispin and Basilio, children of Sisa, and were the sacristan and server of San Diego Church. Padre Salvi, he replaced Padre Damaso. Padre Selvia, a Dominican priest and former teacher. He was also a teacher of Ibarra and very helpful to Padre Damaso in times of anomalies ahead and wears golden glasses. And the last is Pedro, father of Crispin and Basilio and husband of Sisa. He is an irresponsible husband.
Chapter 28 Rizal includes except from Menorius letter describing the festival event, including descriptions of the music, praise and attendance, theaters, performance, fairs, and sermons. In a letter to Ibarra, Maria Clara expressed her need to him despite the fact that he has been sick for the past few days and claims that Father Damaso has been keeping her company in the interim. Don Filippo and El Tasio discussed the absurdity of the town's lavish celebrations of the final day of the festival in Santiago. Tasio forced Filippo to the Cuarto as deputy mayor, claiming that Father Salves has too much control over the mayor. In the meantime, the search began to fill for the festival's last high mass. Unfortunately, the Maso will be unable to praise as a young woman carries a baby who, upon seeing father self say Papa, as people felt blood the street of their approach to the search. Papa, Papa, Sal blushed as an onlooker, sneaker, and weak. According to the result, but the people were mistaken. The race didn't even know the woman who was a stranger. Chapter 30 is impossible for attendees to the bride because the chapel fills up quickly. When the Father Damaso scenes of the full teeth, Ibarra sit in a corner, and the two men exchange glances. Damaso gives his wink as if it suggests we won't forget him in the prayers.
Chapter 31 Father Damaso starts his sermon in Latin before switching to Spanish and mocking the ensign and the civil guard. He pushed at one point, but not to fill the time with serious stainless. Instead, he kicked the section of who is feeding him words from beneath to pulpit. And the demotivative guys reminds the priest what he's supposed to say by giving him a prompt. Even the most devout in his audience begin to yawn, and one person even exits, causing a commotion that Damaso observed. The prior changed to Tagalog in the second half of the speech, but his command of the language is so limited that even native speakers struggle to comprehend him. Despite this, Damaso emphasized the significance of respecting the church throughout the service, repeating that Indus must be their prize. He also subtly attacked Ibarra, though no one expects Ibarra knows the sermon well enough to notice. During the benediction ritual, don't get too far from the priest, don't go down into the trance, and don't near the cornerstone, and you'll go on living. Ella say that church sing holy incantation.
Chapter 32. After the church service, everyone heads to the school for Father Salvi blessing ceremony. In order to remember the day, the yellow guy built a big pulley system to lower a time capsule into the ground near the structure. As a result, a massive stone hangs in the air over a large trench, ready to be lowered into the ground. The architect compliments the yellow man's work and inquires about his education. In time, you'll see what my father taught me, you'll see, adds the yellow guy, claiming that his father was taught by Ibarra's grandfather. After Father Salvi blessing of the school, the esteemed Captain General says a few words before the town's most powerful members descend one by one into the trench to symbolically shovel a pile of soil over the time capsule, which will then be buried by the dangling stone. Ibarra offers Father Salvi a trowel to avoid falling into the pit, which he unwillingly accepts and descends, all the while glancing up at the stone above. After that, he inquires as to whether Ibarra will be taken down. The governor speaks up, encouraging the young man even more. Ibarra descends into the ditch, his gaze fixed on Elias and the yellow man. Meanwhile, Elias keeps an eye on the yellow man's hand, which is in the pulley system control lever. A loud crash is heard and the stone falls to the ground. When the dust settles, the villagers can see that Ibarra is still alive. The stone, on the other hand, has crushed the yellow man. The dead man is simply an Indio. The people exclaim, stating that Ibarra is alive and pointing out that, unlike Ibarra, the yellow man did not show up for worship that morning. Chapter 33. Elias pays Ibarra a visit later that day and informs him that he has enemies. Elias underscores the importance of these opponents, believing Ibarra is unaware of their nefarious plans. Ibarra is surprised to learn that he was enemies, but Elias assures him that enmity is the law of life. He explains that he met the yellow man the night before and that this man said mysterious things, statements that raise Elias' suspicions, especially since this man had previously visited the school's architect and asked to oversee the setting of the large stone for a small fee. Elias put the yellow man in his place as Ibarra went down into the trench, preventing him from escaping and killing him by putting him in the trench. Ibarra, as grateful as he is, concerns the morality of the situation, but Elias responds, I didn't kill him, I surrendered to God's will and allowed him to perish. Ibarra is impressed by Elias' diction and thoughts and inquires about his identity. Assuming he is a scholar, Elias responds, I've had to put a lot of faith in God since I've lost faith in men. Before leaving, he tells Ibarra that he owes him money because of the crocodile incident and that he will be willing to help him whenever he needs it.
Let's proceed. Chapter 34. Ibarra hosts a huge dinner that night. Except for Father Damaso, all of the town's most significant people are present. Captain Tiago received a message during the meal informing him that the Captain General will be arriving at his residence that evening, and he rushes out to prepare. The friars exchange furtive glances, apparently offended that the Captain General will not be staying in the parish residence. A slew of other telegrams appear on the table, each delivering the same message to the governor, ensign, and mayor. The friars are once again outraged by their exclusion. Father Damaso shows in uninvited at some point during the meal. He takes a seat as the other guests offer a toast to Ibarra. praising the young man's work and mentioning the beautiful architecture. You'd have to be stupid that these Indians who set up their own houses, not to know how to erect four walls and a thatched roof on top. And then you have a school, interrupts Father Damaso. Ibarra tries to disregard this, and Damaso's outburst becomes more blatantly offensive as a result. He subsequently says, "You know what an Indio is like?" He becomes an expert the moment he learns one thing. When he recalls Don Rafael's death, Ibarra leaps from his chair, pinning the priest with one hand and clutching a knife in other. Bring it back as he holds Father Damaso down. Ibarra yells to the crowd. He assures his audience that he is in good health and tells them about Damaso's treatment of his father. He lifts the knife as his rage reaches new heights, but Maria Clara takes it from his grip. Before hiding his face and exciting the scene, he looks at her with wild eyes. Chapter 35. Despite Ibarra's violent outbursts, the town's powerful members discuss the problem among themselves, wondering how they can defend Ibarra, given what he and his father have done for San Diego. Don Filippo, in particular, wishes to do everything he can to protect Ibarra from public scrutiny, but the mayor intervenes, asking what can we do? What options does the municipality have? The friars are always right, no matter what the course. This is because officials like themselves constantly allow the friars have their way. Don Filippo points out. Separated, Don Filippo resigns as deputy mayor after the mayor reminds him that the church is wealthy and unified, whereas the Philippine government is split and poor.
The church has excommunicated Ibarra. Captain Chago's immediate reaction is to prohibit Maria Clara from speaking with Ibarra until the excommunication is lifted. To make matters worse, Maria Clara got father. Father Damaso calls off the young lovers' engagement. Even Chago's father, Father Sibayla, warns him not to bring Ibarra inside his home. Chago informs his daughter, Maria Clara, that Father Damaso has relative who has lately arrived from Spain, whom he plans to betroth to her aunt Isabel, draws him aside and chastises him for his callousness. But he asks what she expects, given that the priests have informed him that he is on the verge of being excommunicated. Stricken with grief, Maria Clara runs to her room just as the Captain General arrives. Let's proceed. Chapter 37. The Captain General makes the decision to talk with Ibarra. Despite this, he must first meet with the friars whom he despises. He infuriates them by making them wait in the antechamber of Chago's house. When they finally come in, that treats them harshly, demanding which one is free Damaso right away. Damaso is said to be missing and the Captain General mocks the truant phrase. When the friars try to bring up the matter of Ibarra excommunication, the Captain General dismisses them before they can express their view on the conflict. Ibarra arrives to meet the Captain General, who met him warmly and expresses his admiration for Ibarra's noble efforts to enhance the village by building a school. He promises Ibarra that the unpleasantness with Father Damaso will go away because he will speak with the Archbishop and have the excommunication lifted. You can't laugh these things off in public, more of caution with Ibarra departs. The Captain General calls the mayor instructing him to assist Ibarra in ac- achieving his patriotic goals and to ensure that the young man does not encounter similar challenges in the future. Ibarra rushes to Maria Clara Rome, but she refuses to answer the door. Her buddies, on the other hand, advise him to meet her that night at the theater.
Chapter 38. Ibarra stands on the street, watching a long procession culminate in the Virgin Mary being dragged in a cart by people dressed as ghosts. During the festivities, police officers fought off bystanders to keep the streets clear. Ibarra is disturbed that the officers and he asks the mayor if they dish out these strikes as punishment for one's misdeed or just because they love it. The Captain General overhears this and agrees with Ibarra, suggesting that it would be better to abolish such celebrations. Chapter 39. While the rest of the town rejoice, the inside's home stays dark. Dunya Consolacion sleeps in a recliner inside, dressed inappropriately. The insides wouldn't let her attend to church that morning because she dressed ridiculously, and he didn't want to be seen with her. She, on the other hand, considers herself to be more attractive than even Maria Clara. She becomes increasingly enraged during the day as she remains cooped up in the house, ordering the staff to cover the windows so she doesn't hear the festivities. Sisa was taken to the military barracks after being arrested by the civil guard for touching the town sleeper. She now sings sad songs that Dunya Consolacion hears. Get her up here right away. The ensign's wife commands her slaves. She says, when the mad woman arrives, Dunya Consolacion commands Sisa to sing in broken Tagalog. She has a propensity of pretending to not know her own home tongue, Tagalog, in order to appear more cultured. As a result, she is happy when Sisa fails to comprehend her request. In Spanish, she asks a servant to interpret her request into Tagalog. However, when Sisa begins singing a song about vanity, Dunya Consolacion can no longer bear hearing the words and exclaims in perfect Tagalog, "No, don't sing." Doña Consolacion, embarrassed by her discovery of her Tagalog fluency, demands Sisa to dance, cooling her an Indian war and washing her feet. She draws more blood from Sisa, taking a sick delight in a bizarre show, until the ensign enters and places his hand on the dancing woman's shoulder, allowing her to come to an abrupt end. He orders his staff to take Sisa away and tend to her once despite the fact that he had been treating her well before the occurred, before this before this occurred, ensuring she was well fed and warm. When Sisa exits, the couple begins to fight, their strikes rocking the entire home. Doña Consolacion finally retires to her bedroom and closes the door. The ensign pretends to leave but returns inside to lure her out. When Consolacion inquires about his whereabouts, the servants confirm that he has left, and the fighting begins.
Chapter 40. Don Filippo informs Tasio at the theater that the mayor has not accepted his resignation and that they postpone discussing the subject until after the festival. Father Sal stares at Maria Clara with his sunken eyes as the play begins. The priest visits on Don Filippo at one point and asks him to evict Ibarra from the grounds. But Filippo replies there's no need because Ibarra isn't causing any trouble. As a result, every priest leaves. Just as Filippo returns his focus to the entertainment, two civil guard members approach him and request that he stop the show because the ensign and his wife had a fast fight and can't sleep. Don Filippo resists, claiming that the mayor has given his approval to the event. He then turns away from the soldiers who have left. People began chanting bandits in the middle of the performance. Fire and bandits, fire thieves, because two civil guards attacked the orchestra's musicians is an attempt to halve the concert. The crowd curses the civil guard, threatening to burn the military barracks as Don Filippo and his men pacify the soldiers. Don Filippo urges Ibarra to assist him in convincing the populace that this violent proposal is not a good idea. Ibarra wonders if there's anything he can do when he sees Ilas in the crowd, and Ilas slips into the crowd to try. Father Sal thinks he sees Ibarra take up Maria Clara and flee with her as he watches the chaos unfold. He runs in the same way, despite the danger, because he can't bear the thought of his leading to any form of sexual act. When he arrives at Maria Clara's house, he finds her on the patio with Aunt Isabel, who is tending to the small girl, who has obviously become unwell. He fantasizes about her sleeping body and many other obscene fantasies on his journey back. Rizaldin cites a newspaper correspondent's account of the tumultuous night, in which the correspondent expresses a thousand gratitude for Father Sal's opportune and vigorous intervention, which the correspondent believes he made despite the danger and brought peace to the streets using only his words.
Elias pays a visit to Ibarra late that night, who is unable to sleep and is thus awake and conducting experiments in his study. Elias informed him that Maria Clara has become unwell, and then relates how he was able to disperse the crowd at the theater by conversing with the two rebel leaders. They were two brothers, one whose father had been killed by the civil guard, and the other whom Elias had saved from the same fate one day. As a result, he ordered them to calm down. The enraged audience that night in the theater and they complied. Ibarra walks out into the street after Elias has left. He runs into Lucas, a man with a huge scar on his cheek. Lucas reveals to Ibarra that he's the yellow man's brother and asks how much he wants to compensate his brother's family for his untimely death. Ibarra isn't amused and suggests Lucas pay him visit the next day, as he on his way to see a sick person and can stop to chat about such things. Lucas continues, and you'd ignore the death of a sick person? I know you're the grandson of the who placed my father under soil. Ibarra says, as he walks away, leaving him standing on the streets, the same blood flows in your veins. And that's all. Thank you, sir.